All right, you guys got us to 1,000 subscribers. Now it's our turn to give something back to you. Welcome back to the channel, guys. Jacob here with Into the Woods. So as you just saw, we're going to be doing a little bit of everything today. The thing I'm the most excited about is we've got some cool new molds to try out. It's a lot of fun to make, and after we make all the stuff in this video, we're going to give it away to one of you guys. So we've gained almost 100 subscribers since our last video, which is growing way faster than I expected. I actually thought I was going to make 2 or 3 more videos prior to this one before we hit 1,000 subscribers, but you guys have just far exceeded my expectations. So thank you guys for all of that. So everything that you're going to see us make today are things that I have a lot of confidence in and things that I believe will catch fish. I don't want to just make a bunch of random stuff or gimmicky stuff to give you guys. I want it to be something you can actually use. The first giveaway that we did at 500 subscribers, if you guys have been around the channel for that long, actually about a week ago, the guy that won the 500 subscriber giveaway actually caught his PB on one of our jigs that he won in that. So maybe we're good luck. Maybe we can get you guys on some big fish with this giveaway. Stick around to the end of the video and we'll show you how you can enter. So as I mentioned, we got a lot of stuff we're going to be making in today's video. So we're going to flip the camera around and we're going to start making this first color. Alright, so this may be a familiar sight for all of you that watched our June bug comparison video. This is the leftover puck from every color that we made. I'm interested to see how all of these look melted down together. So we've got them all thrown into a big cup. We're going to get these melted down and then we're going to make a bunch of baits for you guys. Here's a first look at all those June bugs melted back down. You can see just a really nice kind of middle of the road. If you remember, some of those had more blue tones and some had more red. Well, you mix them all together and you just get a nice middle of the road June bug. We got a few molds set out. We're going to get to injecting and then we'll see how these look. Let's open these up and see what we got. So this is the 3.8-inch Gilley Mold by Hog Salad Molds. Really like this bait for flipping and pitching around like laydowns and docks and stuff like that. Really good. This June bug looks really cool with all of those melted down together. Maybe the way to make the perfect June bug is to mix every single one together. So there's our gillies, and then we got some ribbon-tail worms. So here we've got the 10-inch. This is the Angling AI ribbon-tail worm. Looking really good. And then over here we have the smaller 7.5-inch. I really like throwing June bug colors in ribbon-tail worms and finesse worms. So I figure we'll make both sizes of those. We've got plenty of remelt, so once that gets heated back up, we'll make round 2. So here's a look at round 1. We've got our 7.5-inch ribbon tails. We've got our 10-inch ribbon tails. And then the 3.8-inch gilly. Really cool. So you're going to get, whoever wins is going to get 12 of each of these. This is first color and first round. Now let's move on to the second. So for this next color, we're going to start with earthworm blue. And we're going to do a slight twist on a pretty natural earthworm color that I make with this. We're going to start with 60 drops of this for 1 cup of plastic. And there we have our 60 drops of our earthworm blue. Now, what I normally do when I make this color is I'll use 60 drops of the earthworm blue, and then I will use 10 drops of MF's brown. But what I want to try on this one, I was thinking about it the other day, throw in some of Lureworks Scuppernog. Now, when I use MF's Brown, I usually go with around 10 drops. For this one, I'm going to start with 5 drops and see what that looks like. I think those 5 are going to be plenty for what we're going for. Oh yeah, that's really, really nice. So we've got our 60 drops of Earthworm Blue, 5 drops of Scuppernog, and I'm going to go with a 1/16 teaspoon of the small 0.015 red flake. And I feel like this gives just a really nice natural earthworm looking color. There we go. So we're going to get all that stirred up. We're going to grab our mold and we're actually going to do a little bit of hand pouring. So here we've got the Angling AI Mojo open pour worm. I'll try to pour a couple of these for you real quick and then we'll run the rest of them. We are ready to take a look at these. They look really good in the mold. So let's get one out. Check it out. And there we go. Yeah, so when I normally make this, like I said, I use the MF Brown, but I like the way that Scuppernog kind of brings out a little more of that like reddish hue. Really, really cool. Just a nice, natural, earthwormy looking pattern. So there we go. We're going to get the rest of that poured up, and we'll see how many we end up with. We got 3 full runs of those. So here we've got 15 of these finesse worms in that nice earthworm color. Let me know what you guys think of this one. Now we're going to move on to some swim baits. Alright, and for our swim bait colors, we're going to be making one of my most productive colors that I've made. So we're going to start with our Winchester mica powder. We're going to go with a 1/16 teaspoon of that. And then we're going to take our Carolina pumpkin. We're going to add about 5 drops of this. Get all that stirred in. Alright, so that's all we're going to put on the top. And then the bottom side is just going to be some violet highlight. And we are also going to go with just a 1/16 teaspoon of that. Get all these powders stirred in real good. So we got all those powders stirred in, we got that plastic warming back up, and then once the temperature drops enough, we're going to add this sparkle violet in the 0.015 size. We're going to add this at the very end and then immediately inject. This stuff is temperature sensitive, so you want to make sure you keep your plastic, if you can, keep it around like 320 and below. So we're going to wait for that plastic temperature to drop back down, add this, and get to injecting. Alright, we got both of our plastics right around 320 degrees. We're just going to load them up with this sparkle flake. That was the 1/4 teaspoon size, and we put 3 pretty heaping scoops in that. I'm going to get all this stirred in real quick, and then we're immediately going to get to injecting. We are ready to take a look at these. Oh yeah, look at those. Just a really, really nice natural shad pattern. So I have tested a ton of different colors in these little paddle tails. I've got 3,700 size boxes completely full of every color you can think of. Solid colors, dual colors, triple laminates, everything. This color right here has by far been the most productive bait as far as catching fish. So I really, really like this color a lot. Now we're going to very slowly reheat the little bit of leftovers that we've got and make one more run. Here we have both rounds of these little paddle tails. This is the 3.8-inch fatty from Fat Guys Fishing. It's one of my favorite little paddle tail swim baits. You can see that color looks really good. We were really careful when we remelted all this. Didn't really notice any flake scorching or changing of color, so those turned out really, really nice. Just a really natural pattern. Like I said, this has been the most productive swim bait color for me. Let me know what you guys think of these. Now we're going to get on to the next bait. All right, it's time to go for the triple. So I'm sure some of you can tell by the colors in the back what we're going for. But on the bottom color, we're just going to go with a little bit of snow shine. Not a lot, just enough to kind of take the, I guess you could say, take the edge off of it. Now we are going to add a little bit. Let me get my scooper. So we're going to go with a 32nd teaspoon of blue highlight. We're going to add that to the bottom. For this middle color, we're going to go with our Chartreuse 108. All right, we got some of that in there. Now we're going to cut that with just a little bit of gold highlight or gold pearl powder. I'm going to use my 16th, but just get just a little bit. Like, I don't want very much of that, but I feel like the gold just kind of helps brighten that chartreuse just a little. And then on the top, we're going to go with marine blue from MF. Add a little of that. And then, as you guys know, laminating pigments with powders can be kind of iffy. So we're going to take some of that blue highlight and the same thing. Just add just a little bit. I just want a little bit of powder in each one just to kind of help those consistencies stay a little more even. Now we're going to get all this cleaned up and start mixing these colors in. So here's a look at our three colors, and then based on the thicknesses of these three, I think I'm going to add just a little bit more blue in this one. I want to make sure it's not too thin to where it gets lost when we go to inject. There we go. These three are looking pretty good. Now we're going to get all of these to even temperatures. It is very critical to get these to even temperatures. And your blending block, what I do with my blending block is I actually throw it in my toaster oven and preheat it to the point where it's so hot I can't touch it, to really help all these colors flow nice and even and smooth. So let's get these heated back up, get our temperatures the same, and just make some baits. All right, let's take a look at these and see how they turned out. Here's a look from the side. You can see you got a couple little air bubbles in here, but nothing too crazy. Those came off. Look at that. What do you guys think of these? That blue is a little thin on the top, but I kind of like it pretty translucent like that to really get that chartreuse line to shine through. And jerkbaits are known for not laminating real clean in general, so doing a triple is just asking for slight issues, but I think those look pretty good. Let me know what you guys think. Now we're going to move on to one more round of soft plastics before we get to our final run with our new mold. Let me know what you think. All right, and here we go with just our green pumpkin 109. And for our flake, we're going to go with an 1/8 teaspoon of the large black. Actually, I think I'm going to go 2 scoops of that. So 1/4 teaspoon of large black. We're going to go 1/4 teaspoon of the small black. And then if you guys remember the holographic flake video, I'm going to go back to this blue holographic from Barlows, and I'm going to do a heaping 1/4 teaspoon of that. Let's see where that gets us. I think we're pretty good there. So we're going to get this plastic warm back up, and then we're going to make you guys some craws. And here's a look at the craws that we just made. We've got both the 3.4 and the 4-inch craws. If you guys haven't ever tried blue flake in your green pumpkin baits, definitely give that a shot. It looks really, really good. And then here we have the entire run of everything that we've made so far. Yes, I said so far because if you guys have noticed back here in the back, we got a cool new little line-through swimbait mold from BTS Molds. I've been playing around with a few of these on some different patterns and things that I like. So now we're going to make a few of these little guys. All right, so here's a look at the molds that we're working with. So as you can see up here and right here, you have your little slot similar to like core shot molds. And what these are for are, if I can get one out, you're going to take these little rods, and I'll see if I can get it. You can see there's a little nick on the rod right there. And what that's for is you buy these little inserts, and you can take this insert, slide it onto your rod, and that keeps it from going past that little nick so that you can put it in the exact same spot every time. And you're going to lay it in the mold like so. Once you pour your bait and get everything done, you'll take the bait out and you're going to slide the rod out of the bottom, leaving that insert in the mold. Now, I've been eyeballing this mold for a few years now, and then recently BTS did a buy two, get one free sale, so I bought two and got a third one for free, because these are, I want to say they're a little over $100 for one mold, so they are a little pricey, but they are super fun to work with. Now, we're going to start with, we got our plastic cooking, we're going to get it very hot, and we're going to skin pour both sides of each mold, and we'll show you that. All right, and for skin pouring, we're just going to take our plastic. You want super clear, bubble-free plastic when you do this. We're going to take our mold, and now I usually hand pour this around 380 degrees, so very, very hot. But what we're going to do is we're just going to fill the cavity of the body of this mold, and then we're just going to dump it out. I like to keep a second cup just sitting around just to kind of minimize the mess, because this will get a little messy. But we're just going to do that same thing, just kind of rinse and repeat on all these molds. And then we'll show you step number 2. All right, now we've got all these molds skin poured. So in the body of the mold, we have a clear plastic layer. Now I try to keep plastic out of the fins and the tail area. I usually stop it right here just because I don't want it to affect filling in the mold anywhere else. Now I know it's kind of hard to see, so what I did the other day was poured some and then peeled them out. So basically this is what you're left with inside the mold. It's just a super thin, clear plastic layer inside the body portion of the mold. So you're going to have this inside your mold. We're going to take our little paintbrush. We're going to brush whatever color patterns we want into the mold. Now, I have a ton of different bags of all these different powders, but recently I found on Amazon, so you can get this, it's small tongue mica powder. It's 72 colors. It's like $24 or something like that. This one box will have basically every color that you could ever need inside of it. So if you want to just kind of do a one-stop shop for all your powders, I'll link this one down below. So we're going to get all the colors out that we're going to use on these, and then we're going to get to painting. All right, so I'm going to try to get one of these on camera as best as I can. If I get really close, you can see where that clear plastic stops right there. And to clean these molds up, just do like you do open pore molds. Just run your finger around the edges and that plastic will pull right off. So we're going to start with black. Now, if you see this bottle's a little melted, so if you're using a heat gun anywhere on your workbench, make sure these bottles are completely out of the area. This bottle wasn't even close to the heat gun, and you can see what it did. But either way, so we're just going to take a little bit of black on the tip of our brush. And what I like to do is I'll take it and put it on the eyeball. This is going to be really hard to do around a camera, but I like to basically just make that darker kind of eye socket around where we're going to put our eye once we're finished. And then if there's any like loose powder laying in the mold, once I'm done with that, I'll just kind of blow it out and then we're good to go. Now, if you noticed on this one up here, I like to put that little black splotch right behind the, I guess it'd be the ear of the fish. I feel like on a lot of the bluegills local to me, they all have that little kind of black dot. So we're going to do that. And there we have that dot. And then anytime you're doing something like this where it's going to be duplicated on both sides, just take the other half of your mold, hold it up next to it, and then you can use that as kind of a alignment mark for just go straight across, duplicate it on this side, and then everything will mirror itself pretty well. So that is the only place that we're going to use black on this one. And now we're going to go to the next color. And for the color, I do the same thing with the brush. I literally just kind of blow out what little bit of powder is on that. It comes out super easy, and then we'll move on to the next one. So we're going to go to this golden blue. Now I'm going to put just a tiny little bit right here on this cheekbone. I don't want very much at all. Some of the first ones that I made with these while practicing, the blue was a little overpowering. Now on the brush, if you feel like you got too much, just kind of tap it on the edge of the can and it'll come right off and leave you with just a really thin layer on your brush. Also, don't hold your brush over the mold until you're ready to paint, because if any of that powder falls off onto the mold and hits the plastic, it's there. It ain't coming off. So we're just going to go with just a nice light kind of outline right here on the cheekbone. Again, I don't want too much. I do want it to be there and be visible. I just don't want it to be too overpowering. So that is the only thing that we're going to use the blue for. And then we're going to move on to pale goldenrod. Wouldn't you like to be one of the people sitting around the table when they come up with some of these names? It's always interesting to see, because there's only so many colors until you got to start just making stuff up. All right. So what we're going to do with this is we're actually going to coat the majority of the kind of the lower half of, I guess, the face, I guess you'd call it. The purpose of what we're trying to do with this, and actually, let me keep referring you back to this one. So you can see it on this one. I have it kind of right down here. What that does is we're going to shoot a 2-color laminate with kind of that whitish pearly bottom. But if you don't want the white to go all the way through, so you can see we basically have it hidden with our orange. and then this green kind of hides it down here, so that you really only see the white on the back half, which is kind of what we're shooting for on this one. So again, we're just going to very lightly kind of coat all of this. And now it doesn't look like there's too much on the mold, but I can promise you that will all shine through very bright on the other side. It's actually pretty easy to go overboard and put too much powder. So just very, very lightly go over this when you're doing it. And that is pretty much all we want for that green or pale goldenrod. Now the next step, I'm going to use brown, and you can see this cup got a little extra heat as well. But for this brown, we're going to outline our fin, and all I want is to go, try to keep this to where you guys can see it. I'm just going to go right around the outside edge of this fin. I'm going to go down the bottom and the front. And then once you guys are done, you can kind of blow out your brush and kind of help spread that thicker powder out a little. I know it's hard to keep it in focus with my hand in the way, but it will kind of help blend. And then what I like to do on this fin is take some orange and actually fill in that fin, and it's going to kind of ease the transition from the brown to the body color that we shoot. Now I'm going to start actually on the brown and kind of bring it up, and I'm not trying to color in the entire fin. You can actually even try to follow those lines, the machine lines in the mold if you want. So that's all I'm going to do. You can still see where there's a couple spots where I did not color it all in, which is fine because I just want it to kind of blend together, but it will be very definitive when we shoot our mold. And then the last thing we're going to do for the orange belly color, I like to use the light orange. This box of colors, this giant box, it comes with like 5 or 6 different types of orange. There's regular orange, light orange, dark orange. I think there's like a gold orange, a ton of different ones. And you can play around and really fine tune. You can also mix these colors if you want. But this little kit has a ton of different colors in it. And I haven't found myself in a spot to where I needed something that wasn't in the kit. All right, and there we have our orange. Now this is a prime example of holding your molds together. So you can hold both of these together whenever you go to paint the orange on the other side and follow that line exactly, so that when both halves come together, that orange lines up and looks like it's supposed to be there. So ultimately, that is all we're going to do for this one. I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of these, and then we will get to mixing our body colors. There they are, all ready for some plastic. All right, so we are ready to get our colors mixed. We're going to use some snow shine for the belly color and put a little bit of that. We are going to use some orange highlight. We're not going to use very much of this. We're actually going to go with the tiny 1/32 teaspoon of that. Don't want too much. And then we are going to add 2 drops of our green pumpkin 109. The green pumpkin just takes that bright white looking color out of it. I don't want the belly to be too bright. Typically bluegill don't have super bright belly colors, but I feel like this combination makes just a really, really good belly color for it. All right, I'll get all this highlight powder mixed in here in a minute. Then for the top side, we're just going to use our green pumpkin. We don't want to go too thick with it. Kind of a lighter shade is what we're shooting for with this one. It is a really thick body, so keep in mind, like, what would typically look super thin in a smaller bait will look a little bit thicker in this larger bait. But I think we are good with that. And then for flake, we're going to add some of the medium 0.040 in the top side. We're going to go with an 1/8 teaspoon for the top. I don't want a ton of flake, but I do want some there. And then for the bottom, we're going to use this 0.015. I'm going to use the 1/8, but I'm only going to go with about half a scoop. I don't want as much flake in there. Now let's get these all mixed in. The small flake in the belly color just kind of gives it that kind of like dirtier, grungy look. It's not really doing a whole lot, but I feel like adds a nice little touch. And then we'll get our flake mixed in on our top side. There we go. All right, now I'm going to finish getting these stirred in. I got to mix that powder a little bit better. I need to get these back up to temp. They're starting to cool off. And then I'll show you what I do to the molds prior to injecting. All right, and so for these molds, as I mentioned, we've got to put our inserts in them. And you can see how they're not the same. This side over here is a little bit, if you consider this the center point, this is a little bit longer. I typically have this side facing the bottom. One of the pictures on BTS's website, you can tell that's how they have it oriented, so that's how I put mine. We are just going to lay those in the mold like so. And then one last thing I do prior to closing these is, so you want to inject these molds really cold. So let's just say I want to inject these at 310 degrees. So my 2 colors of plastic, I'm going to heat them up to about 330. Now I'm going to get them even at 330. While those temperatures are dropping, I'm going to take a heat gun and I'm just going to blast around the edges of all of these molds. What I want to do is I want to get the plastic that we skin poured, I want to get it really nice and hot so that once we close these molds and inject, that plastic adheres really well to our body color. And then that way everything bonds and is nice. I've tried standing these up on a hot plate, but the problem that I was running into was the bottom half of the mold would be upwards of like 400 degrees and the top would only be like 180. So with how tall these are, I typically will just blast these with a heat gun really hot, or get them real nice and hot, close the mold, and then we'll do our injection. All right, so we're gonna let those molds cool off because they are screaming hot. We've got our lead pot plugged in. We're gonna tie up some swim jigs as well as some football jigs for you guys. All right, guys, lead is hot. I'm not gonna show too much of this on video because I don't want this to be too terribly long, but we're gonna make some poison tail swim jigs. We're going to make some Arky head jigs. And then last but not least, we're going to make some football jigs. I'm going to make all 3 in both 3/8 and 1/2 ounce sizes. I'll link all hooks that I'm using down in the description. We're going to get to pouring. We're going to get some of these made, tied up, powder coated, and then we'll check everything out. All right, guys, you ready to see how these turned out? Which side's it gonna come out on? Oh yeah, look at that. That is awesome. So you can see all those colors, like I was saying, in the mold, it didn't look like they were too like defined in that skin pore, but then once you make the bait, they really stand out. And then, as I mentioned, let me get this out. For that rod, all you're gonna do is just slide it right out of the bottom, and now you have that weight internally rigged inside of the bait. Really cool. I like this one a lot. So we're gonna get all 3 of these out. Let's pop some eyeballs on them, and then we'll take a look at them. Here you go. Here are all 3 of those. Now we're gonna throw some gold eyeballs on. I don't remember the size, but here is the item number for it at Barlows, 405953. We're just gonna take our Loctite super glue gel, put a little dab of super glue in the eye socket, throw one of these eyes on there, and they are good to go. Alright guys, so here's the entire run for the jigs that we made. I didn't show a whole lot of them, but you've got some nice shad pattern swim jigs, some nice bluegill patterns. You've got some football jigs. These are the compact jigs that we make with the owner deep throat hook. Super nice combination there. And then last and certainly not least, you've got some Arky head jigs over here on the end. There's 4 of every one, 2 1/2 ounce and 2 3/4 ounce in each head style, as well as all the plastics that we made, and these really cool little bluegill swim baits with those BTS molds. Really loving this mold. It's so much fun to play with, just making a ton of different random things. But yeah, let me know what you guys think, and as always, let me know which one is your favorite. I have a feeling a lot of you guys are probably going to be picking these swim baits, and for good reason. I mean, these things just turned out awesome. Really happy with this. The mold can be kind of tough. You got to shoot it as cold as you can to prevent denting up here in the body because of where that line-through insert is. It kind of cools the plastic off a little fast, but still an awesome little mold. But yeah, here is everything that we're going to include in our giveaway. And there you have it, guys. That's everything that we're going to be giving away today. All you have to do to enter the giveaway is the same as always. Just like the video, comment something down below, and be a subscriber. We'll use the random comment generator to pick one of you guys. We'll probably let this video run for like a week or 2 just so that everybody has time to get their comments in. I had a lot of fun, but it was a lot of work making this. I will do some really good close-up shots of all these baits, especially those little line-through swim baits for you guys. So I appreciate all you guys watching, all the support, all of you that have clicked that subscribe button already. I really appreciate it. But as always, if you guys liked something in this video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends, and we'll see you on the next one.